At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Welcome to Untamed Blossoms, the podcast where we celebrate the untamed journey of womanhood. Here, we tell the stories of incredible women who have embraced their authenticity, inspiring others to do the same.
From entrepreneurs to artists, activists to adventurers, we share triumphs, challenges, and the beauty of self-discovery. These are the stories of women blazing their own trails, breaking free, and blooming unapologetically.
Join us to connect, be inspired, and celebrate the power of women's stories. Together, let's rewrite the rules and embrace our wildness.
Welcome to Untamed Blossoms. I'm your host, Amanda Riley.
And I'm Christy Riley. Welcome to the show, everybody.
We're just talking about how astrology-wise, things are a little batshit.
Cuckoo.
The astrology has not been in this way since the Civil War.
Right.
So that tells you anything.
That seems to be playing out.
Yeah.
Samesies.
Welcome to America.
Yeah, welcome to America.
So
agreed. Yeah. And you've been feeling tired.
So tired.
Yeah.
The most tired I think I felt. I don't really even have a time of reference. It's very, very, I'm very tired. So
yeah. I think that everybody is feeling this energy.
Yeah.
So in a myriad of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would prefer to be more angry than emotional. So I'm a little frustrated that this is coming out emotional for me and not like, I would rather just be mad.
You are an emotional girl.
Yeah, but I prefer when it's an emotionally angered.
That's not who you are.
Well, that's who I want to be. And
you've been trying to be a non-emotional girl for a long time.
Yeah.
Hasn't served you.
No.
So here we are in our emotional bodies dealing with God knows what's coming in our country.
I mean, did you have to pull over this morning and cry on the side of the road because you saw a little baby raccoon and you thought, wow, that's a miracle of life?
No, I did not.
So you can drive, 10 minutes without having a meltdown. I, unfortunately, at this moment cannot. Turns out. Oh my God, those are really fat squirrels. I pull up 2 baby raccoons in the middle of the road. I stopped to make sure I stopped traffic because I needed to. Right. I didn't need to. There's no cars coming. And they scurried off to the side. They were so little, they had a hard time getting over the curb. And I just started sobbing.
Oh, because their mommy wasn't around?
Just because they were beautiful and they were little and I loved them.
It's adorable.
I literally said to myself, get it together. And I put my car in drive and I kept going.
I did have those same moments about my grandchildren.
At the beach? How was that?
It was good. We had a good time. My sweet daughter and her husband experienced having 2 children on vacation for the first time.
Yeah.
And probably overextended themselves a bit in time as far as a week out with a sick baby and, no place to let her down really. You know, when you go out to all of these public places, there's just no. And even though we bought all the things to go to the beach and the shade and the pool and, she's still 9 months old and wants to eat the sand and wasn't a huge fan. And, and Remy had a great time, but she peters out pretty quickly. Truthfully, in a human design, I found myself like watching them, and he is an energy source. He is a manifesting generator, and all 3 of his ladies, his wife and 2 daughters, are all non-energy types. So they're either projectors or manifestors, and they just can't keep up with him, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's really one of those people that wants to experience all of the things on vacation and make the most of their time every single minute of every single day.
Yeah.
And all of his ladies are like,
I just want a nap.
like, they're good. And then they're like, like, you can just watch their little batteries go down and they need they need downtime and they needed down days and and you feel like you need to get it all in while you're down there. And those ladies were teaching about sometimes we just need a morning, to just let's stay in the condo and so it was an interesting observation, but we had a great time and I think it was definitely a core memory for the girls, especially Remy and for me and just being able to be together that time that long. And I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Being with your mother-in-law for a whole week.
It's a lot.
I don't know what he would say right now, but he might be like, thank God it's over. I mean, we all got along. There weren't any tense moments. Nobody was fighting or arguing. It's not how we exist in the world, but
it's just hard, I think, to live like authentically yourself around people that aren't like your literal people you live with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We go on vacation every year for a week with my in-laws. And again, it's great. Like no one fights really, but I mean, they all bicker. I love you all, but you all know it. But like at the end, like you just realize that you have been putting on some sort of performance, even if it's minimal, like there's some sort, you're not just going to be laying around bra off,
naked, whatever that looks like at your house, right?
So there is a threshold, I feel like, that you might be more comfortable with your actual.
Yeah. I was happy to get home. Yeah. I was happy to be back in my own space and my own stuff and not living out of a suitcase. And, and I as much as I love travel, I absolutely love travel. But I'm also as equally happy to come home afterwards.
Totally.
So, especially here. So it was nice to come home and there was literally nobody was home. So I came back to a very empty house. Which part of that was very sad for me because Leroy wasn't here, but so I did have a moment when I got home. But after that, I was like, you just have that moment of like, it's just nice to be back in your own environment and your own stuff. And able to choose what I want to eat without having to go out to a restaurant. I get really fatigued eating out after a little while, even though we ate at the store and we bought some things. But then you're eating that one thing on repetition every day because that's what you bought to have breakfast in the condo on vacation, whatever. So I was just happy. I was just happy to be back in my day. But we had a great time.
Such a trash monster. When I'm on vacation, I could eat a hot dog for every meal for every day. Just give me a hot dog and a mac and chips. And I literally could eat that. It's weird because like I really do really appreciate food and like good food. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to be bothered with talking about food while I'm on vacation. Yeah. Like I want to be on the go doing the things. Yeah. But I need to know I'm going to eat.
Right.
But I don't want the ordeal to be about the eating.
Yeah.
I want to be like, hey.
And my son-in-law was very concerned about where we went.
Oh, I love that.
TikTok, ratings and where we went. Mm. And the one time I did choose, we ended up in a pancake house that looked like it might have doubled as a Chinese restaurant in the afternoons in a weird strip mall. And the food was just okay. And when you walked in, you were like, this is the weirdest place. Like literally like you'd entered into an alternate universe, but you're in and you can't get out.
You're there.
And we were there, and oddly on Polly's Island, there's not a lot of places that are open for actual breakfast. All of them open at 11 a.m. And so when you have young kids that are up at 6:30, and you told them you're going to go have breakfast, you can't wait till 11 to feed them. Yeah, so we kind of had to choose from what was open available at 7 a.m. You know what I mean? And so there was a lot of business people sitting around, and then so they got a little busier as we were leaving, but. It was a really strange place. And he was like, so how was that place? Did you like your, and I was like, listen, I know that you do all the research. This was a fly by the moment. I'm one of those people that are like, it had 4.8 stars and reviews. It's right across the street.
Well, it's breakfast.
Breakfast food. It was, it was great. It was, we all, could have been better. Yes, but it was fine. It was breakfast food.
Only time I ever did like a TikTok, like, okay, I want to try this place was in Vegas for my friend Haley. She's been on the show, her bachelorette party. I follow this guy. He's not just a bartender. I can't remember his handle. But he was a bartender at a really fancy Vegas restaurant off the strip.
Right.
And she's a huge foodie. And I was like helping find places to go. And we went there. We met him. He was so nice. Like it was like a 6-course meal or something. It was awesome.
Right.
He recommended that we go to Barry's Steakhouse in Old Vegas, and we went there, and he had a bottle of champagne there for us. It was so nice. I know.
Nice.
It was so nice. One of Haley's friends, which is now my friend Kerrigan, he and I got the seafood tower. It was the most expensive meal I've ever paid for in my life, but it was worth it. It was quite literally
a seafood tower.
And not like, oh, there's some shrimps. There's like
oh God.
Like layers and layers of ice and seafood on a tower.
Wow.
It was the most delicious yet very expensive meal of my life.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a good experience. I've never done that with a group of friends because I just like to get hammered normally.
Right.
I was still drinking then, but I knew she was a foodie, so like that pushed me to pay more attention to that.
Yeah.
And it was just such a great time to like experience like delicious food. And there was also a different time I went to Vegas. We went to Momofuku. Have you heard of that before?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. That was delicious.
Delicious. Yeah. Delicious. Not filling necessarily, but it's delicious.
Basically ramen.
Yeah.
But so good.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a time and a place. But put me on a beach, I want a hot dog. Give me a hot dog, bag of chips, maybe some salt and bennies.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of like real, especially on vacation, I feel like in those places, the chances of you getting sort of victimized as the traveler, I just feel like those places also know, and I'm going to speak as a restaurateur, you're busy no matter what.
Yeah.
You want to give them good service, but if you don't, it really doesn't matter to those places. They're not comping a bunch of stuff that you didn't like.
Yeah.
They're not making sure that you come back. They're just like, well, here's your bill.
And especially on the beach, like seafood.
Right.
And you're on the beach. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Like good enough that no one's going to be like, this is horrible.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then add the people who want everything fried.
Right. Yeah.
Really, like it's not.
Exactly.
That's why I think
fish everywhere I went.
Exactly.
It's going to be delicious no matter how I get it. And so, but he's very much like wants to make the right choice. And I looked at his human design. It's totally in his human design, that process for him. And so I was like, this makes sense for you, that you do that. But for me, it would have been a lot of wasted energy for me.
Yeah.
For me, I just want to make the decision and go. Like, I don't want to sit around and
right.
Let's weigh out the pros and the cons of all these places. Let's just make a decision and go, man. Let's just do it. That's how I roll on vacation. I don't want to spend a lot of mental energy around it unless there's something that I'm like, I've heard this place is good. I definitely want to go here. Past that, I feel like they're all kind of similar. So I don't have a really huge expectation of a win. I usually try to find the local person and be like, where do you eat?
Yeah, totally. That's the best way to do it.
Really.
Glad you're back.
Thank you.
We are not recording last week.
I know.
But
it's always weird when we
I know. Maybe that's why I felt weird this morning. Also, I'm just sorry. My eyes started twitching just now. So
are we okay?
I'm like, are we all right? What's going on here? Anyway, our guest today, I'm super excited. Abbe
Turner.
She is lots of things.
Lots of things. I'll let her tell her story, but I met her when she was on the board. I don't want to say director because I think she has been she was intermittent director, like when they were between directors for OAFA, which is basically an organization who is supporting regenerative farming and organic farming here in Ohio, helping farmers transition in from industrialized farming over to regenerative farming, helping organic farms get established, get funding, that kind of stuff. So really passionate about food, really passionate about farming. We ended up helping her plant all those fig trees at her farm.
Mushroom farmer.
She's a mushroom farmer. She's done dairy. A really interesting story around dairy here in Columbus, what she did. So she's had her hand in a whole bunch of things. So it should be a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, can't wait.
Abbe, welcome.
I'm delighted to be here.
So good to see you.
Yeah, it's been some time.
You look beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You just have such a aura of like relaxed confidence about you. Every time I
agree.
You.
I totally agree.
That's very kind. Well, I'm delighted to be here and honored. you've had so many wonderful guests on the podcast, and I take away something from every episode. So hopefully something I'll say today will be
appreciate that you
equally
listen to us.
meaningful to somebody.
It will be. I know it for sure.
Yeah.
And I know we were just talking about this in your intro. So we met you at OAFA. We did struggle with remembering each letter
Okay.
of OAFA.
I'm gonna let you do it.
OFA is Ohio Ecological Food and Farm Association.
Food and Farm. I always get the F's.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful organic certifier and agricultural educator, really providing great services to farmers who want to be certified organic, but who also want to just grow their food and farm-based businesses.
We met you at, well, Christy had already known you, obviously, but we met you at the fair, right? It was like what was that? Like
it was an annual conference.
Conference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I fell in love with mushrooms.
Okay. It's where you fell in love with mushrooms.
Everyone has a story.
Yeah, exactly.
And she grew them
I
after
grew
that.
them from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got like one of the little grow packets and got a blue oyster and
Grew it in her closet.
Yeah,
It's
changed
fantastic.
my life.
Great.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
everything in her house is mushrooms. And
Yeah,
she's obsessed with mycelium, and it's all because of you.
yeah, truly. And that conference changed my life.
And I hope your exploration continues.
It does.
In whatever way you see fit,
Exactly.
right?
You can say.
The OFA conference is really just a fantastic few days, actually, of just celebration of the gifts of Ohio agriculture. 800 plus people get together and celebrate. So for some people, it's the only time they really get off the farm and can be in community. It's kind of like church.
It's really cool. It's a very cool event. And they let loose and have a good time and do a little drinking and just socializing, but also education. You guys offer a lot of classes, and I just thought it was a really cool event.
Good. Well, I'm glad you learned about mushrooms then.
Yeah. So take us back a little bit, Abby, and tell us about you. Where were you born, grew up, siblings? How did you get into the farm life? Has this been something that you were born into?
So I wasn't born into it, but really always wanted to do it. I was adopted, and I was raised in a warm, loving home, but wasn't agriculture based. Later, when I found my biological family, it was kind of interesting that they were into agriculture and dogs and sheep, and so even going back farther generations, they were weavers of linen, and I grow flax now. So it's kind of a cool genetic memory, I guess you would say it.
We have had this is so crazy. We've had, I think, those two other people who have been adopted on the show that have mentioned that when they found their biological parents, one was like both in like design work. Like they had that same
epigenetics are a real thing, man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
The
so
coincidences
interesting.
are freaky.
Yeah, totally.
So
Wow.
But yeah, so I grew up in Toledo and been in Ohio my entire life. It's kind of funny. I just can't seem to escape these 88 counties. But now I don't even want to. Living in Ohio was wonderful. Cost of living is great. People are nice. Soil and water are clean.
Yeah.
So it's a great place to raise a family. And we raised 3 kids here. So we had a small farm in Garrettsville, about 14 acres up in Northeast Ohio, and raised 3 kids there. And it was
What kind of farming did you do then?
goats.
Goats.
We raised dairy goats. Had about upwards to 150 dairy goats, which is a little much. But I learned to make cheese. We started with 4 goats. I found them in like a farm and dairy. It said goats for sale, and I went over there and then came home and called my husband at the time and said, "Hi, honey, we own 4 goats."
I bought us 4 goats.
I bought us 4 goats. And, livestock is great. Every farm needs livestock for the soil amendment, right?
Yeah.
And also for the entertainment. And, I wanted kids to be able to interact with the animals. And cows were a little too big at the time. I had 2 younger daughters, and I couldn't pick up a cow and throw it, but a goat I could if I needed to. If something got a little crazy. So I started making cheese from the milk that was coming from the goats. And we ended up building a company from that, selling 50,000 pieces of goat cheese.
What did that process entail? Like, I think people don't have a concept of, I love goat cheese. How does that happen?
Also, Abby's being very modest currently. Your whole process, you ended up doing something very cool with your dairy sales.
We were very lucky to have the supportive community. Lots of people really were interested in goat cheese and in supporting a food and farm-based business. We were members of the Slow Food Group, which is food that's good, clean, and fair. We were members of Slow Money, which is about making investments in small farms, as if food and farming truly count, which they do, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
So Slow Money, it's individuals like you guys making investments in small food and farming businesses to help them get off the ground. Often farmers now can't get access to capital. And that's one of the biggest obstacles small farms have, is they just don't have the funds to be able to buy that next piece of equipment or to be able to expand in there.
Yeah.
So yes, we had the support of about 22 individuals that came together to work with us to build a creamery. And this was at a very unfortunate time in 2008, and the economy tanked just as we were starting. So we had 150 goats that were pregnant. So our raw material was on order, and then all of our financing fell apart. And we ended up not building on our property. We ended up buying an old rundown building and renovating that, and flexing our business model and pivoting before we even started.
That's hard.
Interesting.
Yeah. What did you learn from that?
It was an urban spot too, right?
Sure. We ended up in Kent. Our original plan was to build a farmstead creamery, meaning that the goats were there, the creamery, the processing was there, and we were able to do everything at our home base. And we ended up moving to 14 miles away, which was fine. We ended up building a creamery that manufactured our milk, and then we actually worked as a micro dairy incubator for other women that wanted to start cheese businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up being what seemed at first to be this, just how could this happen to me?
Yeah.
And, why this, why now? It ended up being a very good thing because it was an investment in community, and we helped rise up other women who wanted to explore dairy.
Yeah. Was that your first time of helping and I should say in a business aspect, helping women kind of get their footing around building business? Is that something you're always been passionate about?
I think that my professional career is in nonprofits. Okay. So community's important, and I've always had a drive towards service. I'm a big fan of Marian Wright Edelman, who is the founder of the Children's Defense Fund in Chicago. And she says service is what life is all about. So I like to help. I get great joy from helping people. So once it was in an entrepreneurship fashion, kind of was a natural extension of being able to just help those around.
And what age range did you see of people coming out and wanting to experience this too? Because I know I grew up in a rural area. Christy did as well. We're in Columbus, and although that there are parts of this that is rural, I think people have a very specific thought of what kind of person wants to go out and do these things. So can you talk to us a little bit about what you experienced, the different type of women that came out to want to build a business like this?
Sure. It often starts from being a mom and wanting to feed your kids good food. When you go to the store and you pick up products and you can't even pronounce the list of garbage that's on the back of the ingredient panel, you realize that there has to be A, something wrong, but B, a better way. And a lot of the customers that we had and women today that start their own food and farming enterprises, they do so because they want to produce good, clean, healthy food for their community, but also for their kids.
Mm-hmm.
But we see all different people. We see, people came up that were retired. They're like, I've worked my entire life for corporate. I'm done being in a cubicle and I want to raise sheep.
Yeah.
Or I want to open a butcher shop.
Yeah.
A lot of the work that I do as a consultant for the USDA is with small niche meat. So butcher shops and slaughter facilities, and people raising heritage hogs, and helping them build their food and farming enterprises through proteins.
Totally. I think we're seeing such a huge cultural shift of people wanting to understand again where their food comes from and being much more involved in the process and understanding how the animals are treated. And there's so much more of a movement towards that than there has been, I feel like, in many years in the past.
It's actually a return. When you think about it, we only had local food up to whatever, 80 years ago or 100 years ago. We couldn't get avocados and we didn't have tomatoes in January. We only had local food. So it is a return to something that we know and that is right. And people are really paying attention to the method of production, how things are made, right? Is it made in a place that you mentioned humane animal treatment, treats their animals fairly? Is it or treats their workers fairly? So the method of production matters, and that is, as you say, you're seeing a rise in companies with intent.
And absolutely necessary, in my opinion. And coming back, I think COVID really shone a light for a lot of people on exactly how fragile our food system is now with the food chains and trying to get things from places that aren't locally grown. And supporting local means if those people go out of business and something like that happens again, our local farmers are going to be the people who feed us, feed everyone, right? And so I did think it shined. In some ways, it opened up the eyes, I think, people who just have gotten very accustomed and used to, my grocery store is right down the road. And it's always going to have everything that I need. There's no food scarcity anymore in people's day to day, right? We don't have that where you can just go and get whatever you need. You can stop at 16 grocery stores within 5 miles of right here, right now, that you can go and buy food from. Or I can DoorDash food to my door in a second, right? Like it can be delivered to me, a full ready to eat meal. So I just think COVID really has shown a light on when that goes away, people are really not connected to where their food really comes from until something like that happens.
COVID, you're absolutely right. In terms of COVID, it really pointed to a lot of the problems that we have in the food system in this country. The problem is now that we've gone back to ready supply of everything in the grocery store. Everyone's gone back to their old ways. Maybe I shouldn't say everyone, but many have gone back to their old ways. The important thing is that we do need to support our farmers. Food doesn't come from the store.
Right.
It comes from a farm. And if you ate a good meal today, you need to thank a farmer.
Right.
In my work, I work for Common Greens, which runs 5 area farmers markets in the Columbus area. And shopping at farmers markets is a critical part of protecting a local food system. Not only do you get to engage with your farmer, you can talk to them about the method of production, how this was raised, whether it be organic or biodynamic or certified naturally grown, or none of the attributes in terms of certifications, but people just doing things because they feel it's right. Many people farm in a way that is just how their folks did it. And oftentimes that could be a good way, but we also are seeing now that people want to return to methods that use less chemicals or less disturbance of the soil. The important thing at the end of the day is that you show up to the farmers markets and to the local roadside stands to support that farmer. Every dollar that is spent at a grocery store, 90% goes to the middleman, okay? And 10% goes to the farmer. With direct purchases from a farmer, that farmer is actually capturing that 90%. So if you want to use your dollar as a tool, supporting a local farmer is a very nutritious, delicious, and beneficial way that you can actually make a difference in the farmers in your community's lives.
Because I do want to say, I think one thing that COVID did was really shine a light on the extreme late stage capitalism that we're in currently. And that goes to going to the grocery store, the convenience of all of these things. And when people had the time, they weren't commuting to work for the most part. Most of them were working from home. and they were forced to stay inside and not make a ton of plans, right? So when you have that slow down moment of when you can really consider things and your brain has a second to say, wait, I do just go to this, like, where does this come? Like, you start really questioning because you have the time to do it. Our society is built really to keep us distracted from those things. And before, you may not have walked somewhere or rode your bike somewhere and noticed that there's like a person on the side of the road selling fresh corn. You might not have even noticed that was even there because you're so busy. You're on a work call, you're driving, you're not engaging within your community in general. I think that allowed people to look at their neighbors, look at their community, look and see what's happening. What local events are going on right now outside so I can be, COVID safe or whatever that looked like for people. And then we're able to see those people doing things. So I do think we have slid backwards a little bit back into that convenience, like you were mentioning, but the seed was planted by observing this during that time of saying, well, who am I supporting and why? Why am I spending my money here when I could be buying corn right here? Why am I doing that? I think that's really important too.
Yeah.
It's living life with intention, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. That's been proven, right? Your dollars speak volumes.
Yeah.
When we talk about voting, where you spend your money really speaks volumes as well, and can be a huge shift and change in a good and a bad way. It can be punitive and it can be in a really great way. So where you choose to spend your dollar is powerful. So spend it locally versus giving it to big conglomerates, and it will make a huge impact in your community. And I think all three of us really agree on that point for sure.
Yeah. And sometimes I think that as women, our economic power is the one that is the loudest.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I agree with
Absolutely. It's interesting because if you look at marketing, and this has been like, this is not new news, in case anyone was like, bitch, we know. Yes, I know. But marketing has always been targeted to women.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing for almost every product, even a man's product, the marketing that goes into it is for women to consume because we are the spenders.
Mm-hmm.
We are the decision makers when it comes to those spending habits in the family. And I think it's important to look and see how we are being fed messages to, and really critically look at that and say, but how can I do it differently?
Right.
What am I being targeted to? And does this make sense for my family?
Yeah. So, I mean, I found the lady that does the sourdough bread locally. You can just find so many great resources that you had no idea existed around you in a very close proximity. And if you don't go and exercise some time in these places, you would never know that that's available to you always. So getting back out and being involved in your community is huge. That's been something that I've always admired you for, is that you are so deeply entrenched in your community, but not just your farm community, but your community. Wherever you land, you tend to get deeply involved. And I love that about you, and I admire that about you, in every aspect. And you're so smart and so brilliant in what you do and how you help people. The way you carry yourself, the way you word things, the way I can only imagine that. Well, you help people write grants, right? Like that is a skill. That is that not everyone possesses, that to be able to put things into written word that is really impactful, meaningful, and their message and what they're trying to do is translated over to the reader. And I think that's really an impressive thing that you do.
Well, thank you. I try to show up for myself, and I try to show up for other people.
Yeah.
And I really consider it an honor to have been able to help hundreds of small food and farm-based businesses just, get a little bit closer to their dreams or their goal of whatever it be. It could be making jam. It could be, wild crafting in the forest.
Yeah.
Like some of the mushroom products that we have. It's really it's been a gift. I learn from everyone that I work with. I learn from everyone I meet. But everyone that I work with teaches me something about a small business. And there's so much to know. And so many wonderful experiences to have, good and bad, because sometimes they don't always work out as planned. But if you plan for that, then you'll be a little more resilient.
I've had several businesses, and I can always say, like, some people looking in could say, well, that was a failure. That failed. And although those words may be technically true, I choose to look at that as an education. And is like, this is what it costs for me to get that education, a little bit of time and X amount of money, usually, to learn a lesson about myself, whether that's boundaries, just an education in general about business, which I feel like we don't always have those tools. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. Sometimes, especially in business.
And that's often Tuesday at 3 a.m.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah. So, but when I look back over time, I feel like it's painful sometimes in those moments, and it's easy to feel rejected in yourself, disappointed in yourself, all of those things. But really, in hindsight, when I could step back and be looking at something I did 10 years ago, I'll be like, wow, what I really learned from that experience was, with a little distance, you really start to understand how that really impacted your life and what you really learned from it. You don't always know immediately.
And people use financial metrics as the benchmark.
Yeah.
And that's not the only thing that is important in a business. When we help people start new businesses, it's, what kind of a business do you want to run? Do you want to have the public on site? Do you want to take time off? Do you want to pay yourself? Do you want to hire only people that are coming in, out of recovery or whatever it may be?
Yeah.
What kind of a business do you want? Right. And sometimes you have to live through the business that you have that might not have turned out as you expected to figure out what you truly want.
Yeah.
There was a time I was a few years in at the creamery, and we were running cow milk, sheep milk, and goat milk. So we're running, which from a regulatory standpoint, that's like, it's so much cleaning. And for someone that doesn't really like to clean, that was a dumb business to get into. But I realized that one morning driving into work, I was having anxiety. I work for myself. I own the company. And I realized I was driving into a job that I didn't want to go to because the blue suits at the bank had encouraged me to grow. That's the marker, is growth. And I realized that I didn't want to grow like that. And I didn't want to work for a company like that. And I didn't want to be like that. So then what is it? It's up to me to look in the mirror and go, okay, you're in control of this ship. It's time to say stop and make a change. And Christy, I know that you've made multiple changes over the years with businesses and recognize that, hey, this one's done, or this one needs to grow, or this one's just not for me.
Yeah.
But we learn from all of them. Right. And those are the lessons that we can share with other people that want to start businesses.
Yeah.
Limits and boundaries, man. Limits and fucking boundaries.
Yeah.
Let me write that down. Limits and boundaries. Okay.
Limits and boundaries. That's really what you find out is what are your own personal limits and boundaries. That's exactly what you're talking about is what is the life that I want to lead? And sometimes you find yourself sort of swept away in the inertia of something and then stop when you get a moment and go, wait,
how did I get here?
Where did this come from? And what? And how do I get out?
I did not look for any of the exits before I got on this plane.
Right. Now I'm stuck a little and figuring out your exit strategy at that point once you realize and it can be scary because it does become part of who you are. You're the creamery lady and
sure, the goat lady.
The goat lady, right?
And, I don't know if that's flattering, but okay.
Well, but you got a lot of recognition, right? Like you got lots of what she did. She's being very modest, but it was cool that it was an urban creamery and that this was happening within inside city limits and that, you really did something very revolutionary that nobody had really attempted before. And you're being modest in that you're not really using those words, but I will use them for you. And the write-up came from all of that and recognizing that her efforts were really unusual and innovative and creative. And you had you were servicing a ton of restaurants and chefs and, and so it was a very niche market of very fancy cheeses. It wasn't just your run of the mill goat milk that was coming out, goat cheese that was coming out of there. It was really elevated, and it was very cool what you were doing, and got a lot of recognition. And so now you're on this, and your ego, right, is like, oh, I've been recognized for these things. Like, right, we all get these attachments of these little ego hits that we get from these things, and attachments in some ways. But then you realize, like, I'm really unhappy. Like, I don't really like where I'm at now. This is really not great. And how do I get off of there? So how did you have that conversation with your husband, and then like, how does that all, because I'm assuming at that point financially, this was a big deal.
Very tough for a very long time.
Yeah.
And thankfully I had a supportive partner, and I had kids that were supportive too. The kids, they worked in the creamery, and they, 8 years old, and they're scrubbing vats and working at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
But it taught them great lessons about work.
Yeah.
We had fun building a company.
Yeah.
And when it became not fun anymore, I knew that it was time to make a change. You mentioned the accolades, and there's just one funny thing that, I always worked a job because you have to. You got to keep cash flow coming in. And some people feel that you should always focus only on your company. I didn't have that luxury with 3 kids in the household and being the primary breadwinner. So I was driving around, and I was going between clients and fundraising clients. And my ex-husband calls on the cell phone. He's like, "Oh, I just got the news." He's like, we were making a goat milk caramel sauce. It's called cajeta. It's like a dulce de leche. And he's like, "I just got the news." He's like, you didn't win this fancy food contest for this." He's like, "But you did come in second." I'm like, "Okay."
Like, you could have led with that.
That's praising small joys.
Right.
And celebrating and always learning, and learning from books, and YouTube is great. I wish I had more time to just continue to be a sponge and continue to learn. And I read every day. I try to do multiple webinars, podcasts.
Yeah.
Of course, Untamed Blossoms.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. But I try to just keep making that investment in myself and showing up for myself.
Yeah.
Because that's how I will get better to be able to help other people.
Yeah. And what did you do after the creamery?
So after the creamery, well, actually, this is a kind of a mid-COVID story. Everybody's got a COVID story.
Everybody.
So because 90% of my business was restaurants, when COVID happened and the restaurants shut down, I was like, oh dear, we are in trouble. So we shifted to home delivery of goat milk and goat cheese. Yeah. And that was great for a couple customers. They really were helpful to just keep the lights on. And we knew that we needed to do something different. So then there was an opportunity to buy a local food distribution route and mushroom business. And it was called Mushroom Harvest Provisions down in Amesville, Ohio. And I really wanted to buy it because it had Columbus-based restaurants. Mm-hmm. So having been a farmer and a food producer, and a restaurant owner, I knew that was like one component that I still had never owned in the food chain, right? Mm-hmm. From pasture to plate.
Yeah.
So we purchased the local food distribution business, which came with clients already in Columbus, but it also came with a mushroom growing operation. And I love the natural world. I love horticulture. I have a horticulture degree and took some mushroom classes in college. And I love to grow things. The nature just excites me and amazes me. And I learn something from being outside every day. So we took over this mushroom growing operation. And now I have a handle on how to grow some mushrooms. We actually sold that business as well and moved into a new value-added enterprise, which is the mushroom teas.
Yeah. Talk to us about okay, I'm very excited right now.
She's shaking.
I know. I'm stumbling over my words. I'm so excited.
Mushrooms,
it's my favorite thing because I think they're incredible. They grow from death. Like, they are the biggest helpers and connectors in nature. They're incredible. Like, the mycelium network's incredible. They're such great communicators. And I just don't think people give them enough credit. They see portobellos in the grocery store and that's all they know. So Can you talk to us a little bit about the type of mushrooms that you've grown in the past and just things that you've learned about mushrooms? I would love to know.
Sure.
This is for nobody else except for me.
Yeah,
It's okay.
my own file.
So I think we don't even know yet the power of mushrooms.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that years later, we're going to look back at this and go, oh, because from healthcare, building materials, and, environmental concerns and bioremediators, they're amazing.
Have you seen the mushrooms growing at Chernobyl that have been literally eating the radioactive material?
That's the bioremediation. So mushrooms are amazing and they're delicious.
So good.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of funny that way back when they were building like the USDA food chart, mushrooms aren't even on it. And there's a reason for that because the mushroom probably didn't have a lobby and didn't get out there and advocate. But we grow shiitakes. Shiitakes grown outside are an amazing source of vitamin D. And other mushrooms have proven to be anti-inflammatory and antiviral and immune boosting. They have wonderful attributes. And we're just starting to understand how something that's been on the planet for so long really can be such an important functional food for us now.
Yeah.
I heard a spiritual teacher the other day, Teal Swan. I don't know if anybody follows her, but she said the other day, she's like, well, if they were like, if aliens came, who do you think on the planet should talk? She goes, mushrooms. They should not talk to humans. We are not the most intelligent species on the planet. The mushrooms are. They should talk to them.
I'm going to give a shout out.
Love that.
Love that. That's right. I'm going to give a shout out for the trees too, because the mushrooms and the trees, the relationship that they have, and the facts that trees all across the forest are talking to each other, mushrooms are as well.
Yeah. And also sending nutrients to the trees and aiding them when they're sick or they need something. Like that's
alarm calls. Hello.
Wild. So what type of mushrooms do you work with in your teas?
Sure. So right now we grow shiitakes at our farm, log grown, but our teas have a whole host of mushrooms that are locally and globally sourced. We work with shiitake, lion's mane, reishi, maitake, and turkey tail. And then we've grown some oysters too, as you did.
Yeah.
So because they're easy and delicious, right?
Yeah. I love that. And talk to us a little bit about the tea process and what, I know you mentioned you kind of moved that way, but what got you interested in making tea and then how is the process working for that?
Sure. I've always been a gardener, had a nice farm, a nice garden farm, and where we grew culinary and medicinal herbs. And the teas are a wonderful way to use what you grow, but also to incorporate the beneficial mushrooms, whatever they may be. The mushroom teas, we have one that helps with brain fog. That's our brain food tea. We have one that helps with immunity. We have one that helps with just being calm, and that is our relax tea. You know that I just had a milestone birthday, and I felt it was time for me to change my ways a little bit. Yeah, I've been thinking this probably since the last milestone birthday, but sometimes I'm a little slow. But I'm trying to just make things easy and convenient for me to make the right choices. We talk to our children about make the right choice, and I'm trying to make the right choice for Abbe. So I was looking for something in the afternoon that could be a slight pick-me-up that wasn't a Diet Coke or Snickers.
Yeah.
And we created the mushroom masala chai for that, which it's got a little bit of caffeine and has beneficial mushrooms in it. And it's just a nice pick-me-up.
It's the best chai I've ever had.
It is delicious.
Yeah, everyone has their own little chai recipes, what they feel is, appropriate in a chai. I was lucky enough to spend a little bit of time with my daughter in India and really fell in love with chai there. And it's nice to be able to bring it back here and put a little innovative twist on it with some mushrooms.
I love that. Yeah. I love it.
So, and then our relaxed tea, I wanted something that I could brew and enjoy in the evening when I got or when I got home from work, as opposed to just grabbing a glass of Chardonnay.
Yeah.
So I needed to make change, healthy change. And because I love flavor, it was very important for me to create teas with a wonderful master tea blender down at Herbal Sage, to create these teas that had flavor and nuance and floral gifts, much like wine.
Mhm.
So it ended up being a great replacement. Not completely. You know,
Right.
I still enjoy that, but
Right.
I carry a jug of tea around in my car, and I use it as tonic during the day, whatever I need, whatever time of the day it is.
That's smart.
Yeah. And then we have our immunity teas as well too, which is an important thing from a preventative, but also a getting healthy again
Yeah.
if you're are feeling a little under the weather. So that's the Be Well, Get Well.
Yeah.
That's what I'm drinking right now. It's delicious.
When I got sober, I read every book I could read about it, right? Like, I'm just like, I want to educate myself on the thing that I'm doing. So one might say, really go off the deep end. And everyone kept talking about how they had to replace their drinking evening ritual with something. And so many people talked about tea. Now, my experience with tea is you go to Kroger, you buy a box that has tea bags in them, and you drink it, and you're like, this is horrible. Why am I doing this? There's not nearly enough caffeine in this for me. And so when people said tea, I just was like, oh God, I'm gonna have to start drinking tea. This is horrible news. And then I realized that tea, although it's fine if that's what you can afford and that's what's available to you, fine, is not the same as like the tea you're making, right? Or the tea that you can get, the loose leaf tea. Like there's actually, I really want to talk about that because we talk about wine and the aromas and the notes and like your taste, like tea can be like that.
Tea is like that.
It should be like that.
Tea is an equivalent.
Yes.
It's not like that if it's been sitting for too long in a box, though. Doesn't it lose some of that if it sits too long?
I think that this, yes.
Yeah.
But then there's some very high-end aged teas that are, very, very expensive and very hard to access. So in terms of tea drinking, this is about education, and it's about, exploration, finding these flavors that you really like, what resonates with you.
Yeah.
And, from a taste perspective, but also from a biological perspective.
Yeah.
So I recently went to, with my business partner, Jennifer, we went to the Chicago Tea Festival and sat through a wonderful day of lectures about the health benefits of tea. And it's amazing. Green tea. There's a whole list of everything, it seems like, that it's beneficial for.
Yeah.
And they're finding that now. So if you take one thing away from this, drink green tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't think that people have any idea of how diverse tea can be. Like when I tried yours, the very first time you brought us over some, which was months and months ago. Actually before that, we had some at your house.
Peek, girl.
Yeah.
We got the sneak peek. She brought us to the very first out.
Yeah, you guys had the very first.
Yes.
So
We have people here that were sampling it when they would come to events and they're like, what is this? I must have it. And I'm like, well, it's not ready for purchase yet, but when it is,
will
we'll let
be.
you know.
I just couldn't believe how complex it was. Like I didn't expect that. Like I thought I'm just used to box tea. And I just was really taken back of like, this reminds me of drinking like a wine that I really love. And it reminds me of the ritual of enjoying something in the evening that's like just for myself. And that's what I realized these books were trying to tell me in these podcasts. And they were trying to explain that if you treat getting well and healthy and drinking tea and having rituals, whether it be a face mask and a cup of tea or whatever that looks like,
right,
it can have that same relaxing effect on you. And you can still enjoy something complex and interesting without it being alcohol.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's wild that it took your tea for me to really understand what that meant. 2 years.
If you want to be a model on the website, I could use that testimonial. That's exactly it. Our brain food tea, which is to help focus, and if you're struggling premenopause or going through, the brain food tea helps with focus, and that's because it has the lion's mane in it, which really brings daily clarity. But in that tea also is lemon verbena and lemon peel and all these wonderful bright notes that are enjoyable from a flavor perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Anything else about the teas that you want to call out or anything that you've been working on with them?
The name of the company is Golden Cloud Brand. And when thinking about naming a company, I was like, what brings me joy? And I love the clouds. I love to play the cloud game with the children. And I love daybreak. And some of the gifts are just, waking up. And I have a lovely vista now, which is right over an Appalachian Ridge. So when the sun breaks, you can only say thank you for letting me see this today and be here today.
Yeah.
So, but the golden clouds are spectacular. And our brand is centered around functional forest foods. So it's the culinary and medicinal herbs. It is the gifts from the forest. And the forest is a magical place.
Yes.
I think that we don't have enough magic in our world now. I think when we grow up, we forget about just running in the forest and just that beautiful creative exploration and looking for fairies. And I believe in all that.
Same.
I think we need to celebrate it.
I love that we're having this episode right after our last episode. The last episode we literally ended with, what are your thoughts on fairies? That was literally, so they're going to come off
and we were like, we all believe in them, absolutely. We think they live around mushrooms.
Yes. Mushroom circle? No. Fairy portal.
No. Fairy portal.
So,
yes.
Yeah, I think that's so true. There's just, and it goes back to taking care of ourselves and medicine being from the earth and of the earth. And mushrooms are magic. Like tea and tinctures, all of these things are magic because they're healing, and we've lost the sense of whimsy when it comes to knowing about them and how they grow. And I think it's just so important.
Yeah. We also, I think children bring you back to that space of exploration and fun and whimsy, and watching a 5-year-old and go, is fairies real?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that real? Or what do you, or what do you think that mushroom is? What do you think that is? Should I be scared of it? I'm like, no. Go see what it looks like. Go touch it. What does it feel like? And
just don't eat it. If
don't
you
eat
know
it. No, don't eat it. We don't eat, but anything in the forest, right? Yeah. Taking a child into the forest is like the most magical experience because they don't understand any of it, right? And a lot of them have been living in suburbia. So, trees are something that's planted between the sidewalk and the road, like that's in the Devil's Street. Like that's how they experience it, not taking them out into the woods and being around plant life and animals and being a part of that. And it's really beautiful to take them even out here or for a trail walk and watch them explore what that looks like, taking them to the beach. And it's like, Juju, is that a palm tree? What is that? Right? Like just having all these extra experiences of things that they've never seen before. I feel like as a woman, we get really caught up in production, working, the next thing, motherhood, raising humans, that we lose all of this. We lose our whimsy. We lose our ability to play. And I can say as a 53-year-old woman now, I understand that. And I can look at it retrospectively and be like, when did I lose my play mode? And it just slowly just sort of less and less and less unless you actively engage it. And when I'm being playful, I feel my most useful. I feel my most energetic, and grandbabies bring that back out into you, I think, and we want to know why we love our grandbabies so much. And there's a part of us, I think, that reconnects with them in such a way. It also reminds us of our own children when they were little, but also reconnects us with ourselves and our own inner child and our own person who really loves to play. And it's a really magical time.
So we should take a walk in the forest.
Yes.
So the Japanese have something called forest bathing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just taking time out to spend time walking in the woods. Yep. And for someone that struggles with high blood pressure, chronic genetic, it lowers your blood pressure just being outside.
Yeah.
So let's go for a hike.
Yeah.
Noah and I were on a hike. We were 30 minutes in. I'm like, do you feel clean? He's like, what? I go, oh, we just forest bathed. We had to be out here for 30 minutes for that to accomplish, and we did it. And he's like,
did you take soap?
He's like, what are you talking about?
I do think for someone who used to not, I mean, he loves being outdoors, but I'm pretty forceful about us being outdoors. And I think you sense that after a certain amount of time of like how you just come down here.
Yeah.
You know, you're listening, you're using your senses, you're not distracted. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
If people are interested in learning more about your company and where they can buy the tea, can you give us a little bit more information about that?
Happily. So on Instagram, we're at Golden Cloud Brand. And we have a small website, goldencloudbrand.com.
Nice.
So excited. So right now you're doing teas. Are you planning on doing any other type of functional forest foods in the future or expanding your tea lines? Like what's next for your brand?
So we want to continue to celebrate the gifts from the forest. And that could be everything from mushrooms, but it could be ginseng, golden seal, it could be black cohosh. There's so many wonderful things that traditionally they've used as medicines in the forest. And we hope to be able to work with local farmers to do wild crafting, to give them a market and to give us beautiful flavors with some medicinal attributes.
Any women in your life that you feel like have guided you, shaped you, that you want to give a shout out to?
I'd be delighted. My mother is a woman that is so kind. And I think that when I think about who I want to be when I grow up and how I want to carry myself throughout the day, I just try to shine a light of kindness. And she taught me that. She said, if you can't say anything nice about somebody, don't say it. I haven't always abided by that, but I try. So really, we all want the same things, and we all want to be loved and safe and fed and respected, and we want to be treated with dignity. And that all can start from a place of kindness. Oh, my daughters. And I have to give a shout out to my son too, but you asked for women. But no, my daughters, you were talking about the things that we can learn from our kids. And they teach me something every day about myself, about the world, and just different ways of looking at things.
So we will tag where people can find you in the show notes today. Also, if anyone's like interested in learning about being in the forest or foraging or just things like that, do you have any recommendations of books or podcasts or places that they can go to learn more about that?
The world is full of important information that can help you grow any area of interest that you have, particularly food and farming. And I think it's wonderful that we are now seeing a look back at traditional ways of doing things, whether it be a method of production or a medicinal attribute of, any leaf that might be something that might have something in it that's good for you at that moment in your life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's tons of healers and people out there who have written books and have had talks about, these type of things. I think it's important that we educate ourselves and support those people who are trying to help us get back to our literal roots. So
thank you for all the work you're doing.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for doing your good work.
Thank you.
You're
Appreciate
both an inspiration, as are the guests that you have. So just keep on keeping on.
We're going to keep on keeping on.
All about making sure women have a strong community and examples of what they can learn from and take from. And Christy always says it, but the best way for us to learn is through each other's stories. So thank you for being a part of that. Just remember, you can give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram, and then we are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and iHeart.
And if any of this episode resonated with you, please share. Love you.
Love you.